Hello everyone, this is Kusmakar. So today we are going to discuss about the introduction to C language. So this is the first chapter and we are going to cover the following topics. Like we will discuss what is language and what is machine language and how do we interact with the machine and how our language get converted into the machine language. And we will also discuss about the C programming language, what is basically a program and how we do the operations and how computer do the operation. So we will compare our operation with the computer operation. Okay, so these are just the topics which I am going to cover in this lesson. So I will discuss these topics in detail now. Now come to the language now. So language is basically a method of communication. So this communication can be in the form of spoken or written. So basically when we do the communication, so we use the words or the sentences to speak to another person. Like two person are speaking to each other. So those two person should be known to a particular language. Language means the combination of words and sentences which are put in a structured manner. If the words are not put in the structured manner, then both person will not be able to communicate. Okay. Like the examples of language like English, French, Hindi, and there are many other languages in the world. Now let's take an example of English. Means how it is basically made up of. So it is made up of the words and sentences. And these words, actually sentences are made by the words and words are made by the characters. So these characters are A, B, C, D up to Z. So these 26 character has made the whole English language. So the complete English language is made up of these only 26 character. So you can imagine that a particular language can be made up of only 26 character. In the similar manner, any other language can be made up of the few number of characters. Okay. So English language is made up of the different arrangements and the combination of these 26 characters. So we put these characters in the different combination and different arrangement which make the words and which make the sentences. That's how the language is made. Now what is machine language? So in the similar manner, machine language is also made. So by definition, the machine language is a computer programming language which is consist of binary instruction. Binary instructions means like the sentences in English, right? Like we said, write the sentences in English, or we use the sentences in English to give the command or to tell something to some other person. So in computer it read the instructions. Okay, so sentences are the binary instruction in the machine. So we give the instructions in a binary form, but we cannot directly give these instructions in the binary form to computer. Okay, so binary instructions basically are made up of the bit values. Like in English language, the sentences are made up of the words, and those words are made up of these 26 character. Okay, so in the machine language, the binary instruction is made up of the bit values, not the characters. So these bit values are only two. One is 0 and another is 1. And by the combination of these 0 and 1, the whole machine language is made. But we cannot understand what is basically means we cannot read the machine language, or we cannot understand machine language by just reading 0 and 1. So it is difficult for us to interact with the computer, because computer understand in the machine language and we understand in the English language. So what we have done, since it is difficult, so we have created the high level or middle level languages. So high level and middle level languages are like English codes which we have defined. So high level languages like C, C++, Java, C Sharp, etc. So what happens when we write the code in high level languages, that get converted into the machine language. So we are familiar with the high level language and computer is familiar with the machine language. So to communicate with the machine language, there has to be some conversion by which the high level language will convert into the machine language. So who do this conversion? Actually the compiler is the actor basically who do the operation. So compiler is a software basically who read the high level language and that convert that into the machine language. So machine language is in the form of 0 and 1, so computer will be able to read those machine language, means that 0 and 1, and will do the operation as defined in that language. So now we will see how the conversion is made from the high level language to machine language. So when we write the code in the C language, so compiler basically read that code and validate it. So as I have already said, that language should be in the structured or should be in a particular format. So that format or structure need to be followed, right? So in this case also, compiler read the code and validated. Validated means it check whether the whether the C code which we have written, that is correct or not. If that is correct, then it can be converted. So after validating, compiler convert the C language code into assembly language. Then assembler come into the picture and convert that assembly language into the machine language. So this is how the conversion is made. So after the conversion is made, computer read the machine language, means the binary instruction, and do the operation as per the instructions which are defined in the binary instruction. Now see, what is C programming language? So C is a high level language, okay, and it was developed by the Dennis Ritchie in 1972 at Bell Labs. So it was basically developed for the development of Unix operating system. Now in today's world, C is mostly used in the system programming. So if you see the devices like microwave or printer, so the programming done inside these devices is basically done in the C language. So most of the device drivers and the embedded systems like robots, those are also programmed with the C language. So it's a procedural programming language. Now see, when we interact with the machine, we do not send the instructions one by one. So we make a task, and in that task we define the number of instructions, and we collectively send those instructions to the computer. So those instructions, we make a set of those instructions and we send the set of instructions to the computer. So basically this set of instruction is basically a program which computer will understand and solve the problem. So program is basically a set of instructions which is defined in the functions. So in C language, whatever program we are going to write, we will define that program in a function. Okay, so these instructions are coded in the C language. Now see how human perform the operation. So this is the most important part which we need to understand, means how we are doing the operation, that we know, but let's go into the detail of this. Like for performing any task, human has defined the task in a set of instruction and English language. Means when we want to do some operation, so what we have done in our mind, we have defined that task or operation, or we can say the function we have saved in our mind, and that inside that task we have written the number of instructions in English language. Like take an example, to drink a glass of water. So what we have done, we have make this task or a function in our mind, and this is saved in our mind. So what we have done, we have defined this function with a number of instructions. So first instruction is like take a glass, the second instruction fill the glass with water, the third instruction is drink the water. So you can see whatever task we are doing, all those tasks are defined in the number of instructions. Okay, so each task will have a program, so that program will have the set of instruction, right? So when we do the execution, so we are the actors, we will execute it. So what we do, we read those instructions from our mind, which is written in the English language, one by one, and will execute those. And while executing those, we will also use the memory, because in our memory the number of things are saved. Means class, here the class is an object, so we know what is class because it is already saved in our memory. So during the execution, we read the instruction in our mind and use the memory and just execute it. So in the similar manner, computer also perform the operation, but the only thing is here, the difference is here, computer cannot define the instruction by itself. So what we do, we define those instructions for computer in high level language. Those high level language get converted into the machine language by the compiler. Then computer read the machine instructions and just perform the operation. Okay. So here also the example, like if we want to do some operation, then we will define the task in the set of instructions in the C language. So like to add two numbers, we will define instructions like take some values in the two variables, then add those values and display the sum. So I'm just mentioning here in the English language, but actually when we are going to write the instruction in C language, so we will write the instruction in C code or C language in the program, right? So when the execution occurs, so here the compiler is an actor. So compiler read those instructions one by one. First it will validate those instructions. If those are validated, then it will convert those into the machine language. So compiler will read each instruction one by one, which is written in C language, and then execute the instruction with the help of memory. So memory is basically a we can say the number of cells. So each cell is made up of the 1 byte. So memory is basically a random access memory. So now you can compare, means how we do the operation and the similar manner computer do the operation. The only difference is here that we use English language, a computer use the C language, which get converted into the machine language, and accordingly computer do the operation. So I hope it is clear to you now. Thank you very much. If you liked our channel, please subscribe it. This is my email ID, so you can put your queries. I will definitely reply you. In this lesson we have discussed only the introduction. In the coming chapter we will discuss about more programming. So we will clear each and every concept of C with the programs, right? So see you in the next lesson. Thank you so much.